5 Things It Would Be Silly to Say You Must Be Born Into, by Krishna's Mercy. राम नाम सुमिरत सुजस भाजन भय कुजाति, कुतरूक सुरपुर राजमग लेहत भुवन विख्याति. Quote, by remembering Shri Rama's holy name, even those who are born into a low caste become worthy of fame, just as the wild trees that line the roads in the heavenly realm are famous throughout the 3 worlds. Dohavali 16. In this story, we have one person who is intent on sharing the teachings of Sanatana Dharma. They will not discriminate much as to the recipients. No quotas. No requirements for an even distribution across demographic groups for the potential audience. No push for an equity of outcomes. As long as there is an open mind, a willingness to learn, a genuine spirit of inquisitiveness, with some respect for the tradition, the teacher will be patient enough to stick with the process. They will abide by the parameters set forth in Bhagavad-gita in the recommendation to approach a tattvadarshi or someone who has seen the truth. Tad vidhi pranipatin pariprashnen sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Quote, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 4:34. We have another person who objects to this approach. They are friendly with the first person. This means they are comfortable in sharing their concerns. In a casual conversation, they mention the following.
Sorry, but you have to be born into this culture. You cannot bring an outsider in. They lack the requisite qualifications. In addition, they come from a different culture, one that does not value life. They see the life force within the cat and the dog, but not the cow. How silly is this? The presence of life, of innocence, of warranting compassion, is not based on how good the particular flesh tastes. You expect such people to understand? No, it is strictly forbidden. Those people must wait their turn for elevation in a future life before they can be considered aligned with Sanatana Dharma.
To illustrate the folly in this line of thinking, we review some of the principles discussed within Bhagavad-gita, which is like a summary presentation of the culture which is without beginning and without end, Sanatana. We can test several of the principles to see if there is a limitation in applicability. In other words, for what Krishna explains to Arjuna, does the math add up for others? Is the instruction limited to people like Arjuna and others born into a specific culture? Or do the truths apply across the entire spectrum of the living experience? On benefiting from the sun.
Yes, it is a bright, sunny day. We have been longing for this. I even recently read that there is a term to describe the feeling this time of year. It is called apricity. We are experiencing the warmth of the sun in the otherwise cold winter. Even our sacred text, that is the Ramayana, subtly references this experience, wherein Lakshman praises the winter season to his elder brother, Shri Rama. Atyanta sukh sanchara madhyahne sparshatah sukha. Divasa subhag adityah. Chaya salil durbhaga. Quote, in the middle of the day, it is exceedingly pleasant to go about, and it is delightful to the touch. In the daytime, the sun is pleasing, while the shade and water are not pleasing. Lakshman speaking to Lord Rama, Valmiki Ramayana, Aranyakand 16:10. Bhagavad-gita explains that it is the same Rama, the Supreme Lord, who is the light of the sun. In other words, God is responsible for that amazing solar body, which is vital to the continuation of civilization. But you should not bother so much with the sun. These teachings only apply to those who are born into the culture. You likely will not be able to experience the glory of the sun or appreciate what it has to offer. Raso ham apsu kaunteya. Prabhasmi shashi suryayo. Pranava sarva vedesh. Shabdah ke paurusham narishu. Quote, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound and ether and ability in man. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 7:8.
2. Feeling sadness due to failure.
Why am I down today? Why do I look depressed? I guess my face gave it away, huh? I experienced a terrible failure yesterday. It may not seem like a lot, but I was anticipating a different result. It will take some time to get over the sadness. These are the ways of the world. It is a great reminder that we are not the doer, that material nature must first cooperate for any result to manifest. Anyway, I wouldn't worry about it too much. These principles only to apply to those born into the culture. You probably can't relate to what I am going through. Prakritya kriyamanani. Gunahe karmani sarvashah. Ahankar vimudatma. Kartaham iti manyate. Quote, the bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities, which are in actuality carried out by nature. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 3:27.
3. Developing through the different phases of life.
Yup, I know exactly what this is. I vividly recall being able to sleep anywhere, in any condition. I never worried about waking up late or missing the bus to school the next day. That was youth, and today things are different. I am always nervous. It takes a long time to fall asleep at night. My body aches more. I am the same individual, though. This is what Krishna teaches, that the individual is spirit soul and that they merely go through changes to the body. You wouldn't understand, though. These teachings only apply to those born into the culture. Dehinosmin yatha dehe, kaumaram yauvanam jara, tatha dehantar praptir, dhiras tatra na muhyati. Quote, as the embodied soul continually passes, in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita 2:13.
4. Contemplating the sum collection of energy.
How do I think of God? What if I removed some of the sentiment, intentionally deviating from the visible affiliation with the all-attractive one, who is also known as the butter thief of Vrindavan? One way to think of him is to consider the sum collection of energy. The universe is like its own mechanism, but at a scale we cannot comprehend. There is no on-off switch that we can detect, but everything is always moving. Someone or something must be behind that. We can think of God like the original instigator or spark. He is like the first fire, which is always burning, which then distributes its heat and light across the entire range of known space. Anyway, you shouldn't bother with such things. These principles do not apply to you, as you are not born into the culture. Ek desh sthitasya agner, jyotsna vistarini yatha, parasya brahmana shaktis, tathedam akhilam jagat. Quote, everything that is manifested within this cosmic world is but the energy of the Supreme Lord. As fire emanating from one place diffuses its illumination and heat all around, so the Lord, although situated in one place in the spiritual world, manifests his different energies everywhere. Indeed, the whole cosmic creation is composed of different manifestations of his energy. Vishnu Puran 1:22-52.
5. Surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Dharma refers to the intrinsic properties of something. When we refer to the individual, dharma is their inclination towards service. Sanatana dharma is that service which applies across all periods of time and which can be followed absent a cause, without expectation of reciprocation, and without interruption. This same definition of Sanatana Dharma is nicely passed along in a single shloka from Bhagavad-gita, wherein Krishna recommends full surrender, in simultaneously abandoning all other concocted systems of regulation, or dharma. Sarvadharman parityajya. Mekam sharanam vraj. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Quote, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita, 1866. You shouldn't worry about these things, though. You must have your own way of viewing the world, of dealing with difficulties, of finding direction in life. That surrender recommended by Krishna only applies to people born into the culture.
Of course, the restrictions imposed above make no sense. Nowhere does Krishna mention a Hindu religion or the requirement for someone to be born into a specific culture. Rather, even those who would otherwise be considered lowborn, destined to suffer the results of past sin, Papayoni, have the opportunity to reach the highest destination, Paramgadam. Man hi parth vyapashritya, yepisyupap yonayaham, striyo vaishyas tatha shudras, tepi yanti param gatim. Quote, O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas merchants, as well as Shudras workers, can approach the supreme destination, Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita, 932. Of course, within a collective force such as a large society, when dealing with stature and the like, it may be that certain people will be restricted. They are not within the privileged group to inherit rights from ancestors, but that has no bearing on the connection to divinity. As Goswami Tulsidas nicely describes, even those with a so-called low birth can be respected, worshipped, and worthy of honor. The comparison is to the small trees that might line the roads in the heavenly region. Whether small or large due to their affiliation with a higher region, those trees are respected. The same applies to the devotee who is always connected in consciousness to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In closing, suffering from sins of the past, now stuck in a lower caste, these things not applying to you meant only those born into, but truth that even smallest of heavenly trees, each resident as worshipable sees, affiliated with Supreme Lord when, taken as object of worship then,